we'll have at the end of the session. You can join at menti.com. You have the code here. I will also give you a QR code when we start with the Mentimeter. So in case you forgot the code to note it right now, then we will do it afterwards anyways. So just relax. This is meant to be interactive and fun. And then, yeah, finally, when we have the fun with Q&A in the mentimeter.com, probably we can also have your inputs and learn about how FinOps is going on with you guys. I mean, what you can draw meaning from what we are going to tell you right now. So let's begin. So let's begin with the situation most teams start with, right? A regular day in your cloud environment where all the dashboards are green, the budget forecast looks fine, everyone is relaxed, teams are coding, deploying, monitoring, and it all looks and feels under control. Well, I want to pause here and ask how many of you have had that good feeling, right? Things are finally under control moment in your projects, right? Exactly. We all have that great feeling and we feel like, yeah, it's a great moment. But in cloud, calm looking dashboards don't always mean that those are calm projects because the budgets are not always calm with the fluctuating cloud costs. So here you can see that the problem lies in the situation which arrives with the fluctuating and intermittent cloud costs. So just a minute, sorry. Stuck. Okay. Yep, sorry about that. It got frozen. So suddenly what happens is your costs start shooting up, the dashboards turn red, and alerts are buzzing everywhere. And the worst part is nobody knows why. Finance is looking at IT, what happened? IT is looking probably at the project team. Did you guys change something? And the business is saying, we didn't approve this, right? It's a panic mode. I've seen it happen in real life, and probably you guys have faced one or more situations like that. So one team probably might have left their test virtual machines running over holiday weekend, right? And by Monday morning, they had racked up like thousands of Swiss francs in extra costs. Or another case could be a data pipeline looping endlessly while writing petabytes of useless logs, right? So the invoice read like a horror story afterwards. Might be sounding familiar to you. So when that spike happens, here is a $1 million question. Who actually owns cloud's cost? How the organization can manage cloud costs while empowering their teams to do their own job, still maintaining the speed of innovation. Is it on the finance team? Is it on the IT? Is it on the business? Or maybe nobody? So if nobody really owns cloud costs, what's the answer? Enter FinOps, which is for us the art of not freaking out at cloud invoices because it's an art. Well, you might be thinking, great, another buzzword like the AI and LLM agents going on, right? But hear me out. FinOps is just not a tool. FinOps is not a product you buy, but it's a bigger practice. It's a way of working. It's like a bigger umbrella, sheltering all the teams together, driving towards a collaborative goal. So think of it like you can say DevOps, but for money. So DevOps broke down silos between developers and operations. FinOps break down silos between engineering, finance, and business. At its heart, FinOps is about three things mainly: transparency. Everyone can see where the money is going. Shared accountability. No more finger pointing, right? No more blame game. Like, is it the fault of IT, engineering, business, product? And obviously, there is actionability and accountability. And here is the key. FinOps isn't just about saving money. We are going to spend smart. Align the cost to the business values. So before we go deeper, here is our roadmap for today. We'll first look at FinOps Foundation, the body that is driving this community and best practices. Then we will talk about this mission. From there, we will break down it step by step, like what's FinOps really? What are the principles that guide this FinOps framework? Then the personas, like who actually practices FinOps. Then the domains, and the capabilities you need to drive FinOps in your organization or in your projects. And then afterwards, the phases and the maturity model, like how the organization progress with FinOps. And finally, there will be the framework. And at the very end, we will have a demo to realize and help you correlate what FinOps is talking about. So don't worry, this won't feel like a theory lecture. At every step, we will try to connect these ideas to real world examples and simple stories. So whether you are from finance, engineering, business, or even completely non-technical, you will be able to see where you can try to fit in FinOps in your organization. So I will now hand over to Arindam for the next slide.
Okay, so as Tanusha introduced about a little bit about that, what we are going to talk. It's mostly about FinOps. FinOps is again like of course, it's a nomenclature, it's a culture. Uh, it's not a marketing gimmicks. It is purely something which has been proven over many companies. But in order to do this, there has to be a foundation. So FinOps also has a foundation. And this is a project under Linux Foundation. And we tried to dig deeper a little bit, me and Tanushri, and we saw that the foundation CTO is Mike Fuller, and SR Solomon is the executive director. And they have also written a very, very good book. We haven't read it. We intend to read it. But this is something, a book which they have written on the real world examples that, how they have implemented FinOps, what were the challenges faced, all the things which you really require. It's not like somebody came up with a shower thought, but it is a real industry experiences which they have put in together. And related to this whole FinOps foundation, it is basically field tested. As I said, this is not a marketing gimmicks. This is not some buzzword, as Tanushree was rightly mentioning. And it is basically encouraging all the best practices, education, and standards, which is required to effectively implement FinOps in your organization. So this is a little bit about the FinOps Foundation. Can we move to the next slide? Now, we talk a little bit about the mission of FinOps Foundation. So everything, when we start, there always is a mission statement. The mission statement of FinOps Foundation is broke down into three pillars. One is connection and community, another is education and certificates, third is the best practices and standards. Now, when we talk about connection and community and all these three pillars, it is nothing different than all which you guys are doing in a day-to-day life. For example, when you go to a conference, whether it's Azure, whether it's AWS, doesn't matter, whether it's a meetup group, why do you go? You go there because you might know things or you might not know things. But if you know things, then you try to take a different perspective, different opinion that, okay, if this is implemented, how it is implemented. If you don't know, you go to learn. This is where, again, the same principle applies for FinOps. Connection and community, it means that, you are exploring FinOps. You want to do FinOps in your organization. You don't know where to start. Or you might have an inkling that, okay, I can start like this, but you might need a second pair of an eye or a third pair of an eye just to validate your opinion, your thought process. That is where connection and community comes into picture. Now we come to education and certifications. It's just like any Azure DevOps, infrastructure as a code, AI, data. Why do we do certificates? We do the certificates to understand the technology stack. Because if we understand the technology stack, if we understand the hierarchy of the technology, then we can better implement it. The thought process will open. It's the same with FinOps. Topic is new. It is slowly growing in the industry, but this foundation is also providing you certain guidelines, best practices all over. I mean, they are collecting those things, providing as a part of the education and certification. And best practices and standards, this is something, how we like, when me and Tanushri, we were discussing, we call it most like, as a codify, where you are putting together everything, all the knowledge which you got from connection community, all the knowledge you got from education and certificate, bundling up, putting it into a documentation or into automation, whatever mode possible. but the key part of best practices and standard is communication. Because later in the slide, Tanushree is going to explain you that when you are doing FinOps, how many people, how many team, they are all coming in together. And when there is multiple team, multiple stakeholders, the key is communication. Because you have to find that common language to interact. Because finance is going to talk about numbers. Uh, Engineering team is going to talk about their fancy codes and DevOps pipeline. Product owner is going to talk about sprint planning, business, feature updates. How all people are going to talk together because they have every different language. It's just like, somebody in the audience is French. I am Indian. Marcus is Switzerland. So we are all sitting in one meeting room, and then I start talking in Hindi, you start talking in French, and Marcus is talking in Swiss German. Do you think that will be an effective meeting? This is exactly that what mission of the FinOps Foundation is trying to do. Okay, cool. Next slide, and over to you, Dhanush.
Thanks, Aridham. So as he already talked about the FinOps mission, right? So we now gradually try to deep dive into what exactly FinOps is about. So, so after all that context, the obvious question, what is FinOps? A lot of people hear the term and think it is just a cost-cutting program or some new tool you can buy, or maybe even just a finance-only exercise. But here is a reality. According to FinOps foundations, FinOps is an evolving discipline, a cultural practice. Well, FinOps stands for financial operations, so people might think, okay, it's for just the finance team. No, it's not that. It's not just the finance, not just the operations. Here, FinOps stands as a broader term, as a broader nomenclature, and it encompasses all the departments who are using cloud. I mean, it could be they are not directly involved with the cloud cost estimation, but if their project uh, is floating around some kind of cloud infrastructure, then they are definitely responsible and accountable towards cloud costs. So FinOps is a broader, again, the abbreviation is financial operations, but it is not just a particular team, it's a broader umbrella. So what does that mean when I say it is an evolving discipline and a cultural practice, right? It is about finance, engineering, business teams, how they interact, not just a dashboard. They can start as small as an Excel sheet and talk together, sit down around a table, look out at a spreadsheet and talk. But the main thing is to connect and be able to understand how the costs of the cloud infrastructure is going on. And then when we talk about FinOps as an evolving discipline, right? Evolving, because cloud itself changes fast. So FinOps practice keeps adapting. And here is the real goal to help organizations make data-driven spending decisions in the cloud. Decisions that maximize business value without not solving, but without not slowing the delivery down, right? So you have to maximize the value of cloud and technology spent. Well, in plain English, if I say FinOps is the way you turn your cloud bills from an end of month shocking headache activity into an everyday business decision, right? So you have to be accountable not at the end of the month with a springing headache coming up, but rather sit down every day so that you don't have that massive headache at the end, right? So you deal with it on a day-to-day basis, like an agile model, right? So that's what FinOps is about. It's about learning at every step. So I will now talk about what guides FinOps framework, how FinOps is put into practice, the FinOps principles. The foundation of FinOps, they call them the principles of FinOps. So we go through each one of them and I try to show you some real examples so that you can see how these play out. So first, teams need to collaborate. Of course, collaboration. As I said, FinOps is a broader umbrella. Everybody has to get under it to go towards the same direction. So there has to be a collaboration. Example, now, suppose a finance team sees a spike, right? They check with the engineering. So they tell them that it turned out that it was a planned load test, not a wasted spend. So because they collaborated, so they understood that, okay, the spike is because of this, and that was not something wasteful. It could be also other way around, that there was a spike, suddenly there was a spike, and the cloud infrastructure guy saw that, and it was like, he was like, okay, let's shut it down without talking to the business or even the product team. And the business is now shocked. Why suddenly the customers are complaining? So this gap, we need to bridge this gap, and for that we need the collaboration. The second principle for FinOps is business values drive technology decisions. So this one is critical, I would say, because the cheapest option isn't always the best, right? You should always try to go towards the cheap option because it comes to about cloud costs. Suppose an example could be, you could save money by running smaller servers, but if the application slows down, customers will leave. That's a bad business, correct? FinOps will teach you how to weigh your spend against the business values. So that means that you do not have to always go towards the cheap option. You could maintain your, running small instances and see how the business is not getting impacted in the long way. So that could be an example. Now, the third principle is talking about ownership of cloud usage. And this is also a critical topic to discuss about. Like when you say about ownership, people are like, okay, the cloud infrastructure team is there to take ownership of the cloud usage. No, it's not about that. In a healthy FinOps culture, teams don't say that that's finance problem. That's just the IT guy's problem. No. For instance, a product team could tag its resources properly so that finance can allocate costs for those resources. That's a very small habit, but it's a big accountability shift, right? So when I talk about ownership, it has to come from all the teams and all the personas involved. Okay, going forward to the next principle, it's FinOps data should be accessible, timely, and accurate. Imagine getting your, say, credit card bill, right? 2 months late, totally useless, right? That's how FinOps is about. It's the same with the cloud. I mean, if the team can only see the cost at the end of the month, it's too late to act upon. So with FinOps, you surface your cost data daily or even hourly so that everybody is tangible towards the accessible cost cloud data. And it shouldn't be in any language which is like, I don't know, alien language. It shouldn't be any kind of alien language. It should be understood by the finance team, by the business team, so that everybody can read it through the same language. Moving forward to the next principle, it's FinOps should be enabled centrally. So a centralized team drives FinOps. Most organizations start with a FinOps practice team. It's like a hub. They will enable, set the cost guardrails, and standardize the approach across all the departments. So basically, when you are starting FinOps in your organization, it's good and recommended to have your FinOps practice team. And from there, you can eventually, crawl, walk, and run towards the future goals. So afterwards, you might not even need a FinOps practitioner in your project or organization. But in the beginning, you might need help, right? Like we need a teacher to learn even the alphabets. It doesn't come straight to us. So you need somebody who will guide you towards the future driven goals. And the sixth and the last point is take advantage of the variable cost model of the cloud. So what is a variable cost model of the cloud? Well, this is the beauty of the cloud. Cloud scales up and down. The resources goes up and down. But many organizations still treat it like a fixed infrastructure. FinOps encourages us to use that flexibility, turn off what you don't need, right? You don't need to keep your servers up all the way just because you're like, yeah, it's running, but everything comes with a cost. You just have to be aware of that. So turn off what you don't need, scale down idle environments. If it's idle environment, it's idle, right? Scale it down and actually benefit from pay as you go. Like you would like you might have a car, but you would like to use Uber because pay as you go. You don't have to have your car sitting always idle if you want to be cost effective, right? So I would like to say, like, these aren't abstract ideals. They are practical ways to make you sure that cloud costs stop being a surprise headache and start being a shared, manageable business-driven habit, right? It shouldn't come as a shock, but this should be practiced on a daily basis so that it becomes as a habit to you, right? Like you wake up in the morning and brush your teeth. It's a habit, right? Similar fashion, FinOps is talking about putting this as a habitual practice so that it doesn't become a bottleneck at the end of the month. Okay, so moving forward, now that we have talked about FinOps principles, what we are going to look into is FinOps persona. Well, FinOps Foundation defines personas not as individuals, but as broader stakeholder groups who play a role in cloud financial management. These are actually not individual people. So we will quickly walk through them. So first of all, we have a FinOps practitioner. So when I say practitioner, you can understand that that person is practicing FinOps. So this is like a central role that connects all the others, which I will be showing you. Practitioners create the FinOps basic framework. They create the reports. They drive the education that enable the finance, engineering, business team how to collaborate together effectively and have a shared vision. Next, we have FinOps leadership. So these are the executive and the senior leaders in the hierarchy. They care about the business outcomes and overall cloud strategy. For them, cloud spend must always and always align with the business values. So right now, when I'm talking about these two individuals, they seem as separate entities, which they are. But the bottom line is they all have to have this collaboration to understand and carry forward the FinOps framework. So next we have FinOps engineering. Well, engineers and developers are closest to the cloud resources, right? They make your day-to-day decisions like scaling, provisioning, experimenting, monitoring. So their choices directly impact the costs of your cloud. Next, we have FinOps product. So they basically are nothing but product managers, I would say, who focus on features, customer experiences, revenue that gets generated. So they are the people who will ask, does this cloud spend improve our product and bring business value? And when they say that those they bring business value, then the FinOps leadership might come into the picture and say, yes, these are the business values. And exactly since you are defining these guardrails, so they meet. So that connection has to be done. So that's why we have these personas. So the next holder group is FinOps finance. So finance teams, of course, bring accountability, but not towards only themselves, but all the stakeholder groups. They focus on the budgets, forecasting, which is very interesting these days going on with AI. Everybody would want to know how a forecast looks for future months or future years. And of course, ensuring the predictability, right? So there will be a prediction, but you need to ensure that it is being met, or you are adjusting your components and resources according to the prediction. So somebody has to be accountable for that, and FinOps team brings that accountability. FinOps finance team. So they need the clear visibility into costs to plan efficiently. So here, now that you have seen these personas, we have finally oh, sorry. It seems that I have done a mistake over here. So it should be actually not only the engineering. Sorry, it has been, it's my mistake. It's put double over here, actually. It's like the engineering, product, finance, leadership, and the FinOps practitioner. Sorry about that mistake. So basically, the leadership is here to set direction. Engineering will drive the execution. Product will link to customer values. Finance will ensure accountability, and FinOps practitioner connects it all. So together they make the practice of FinOps possible. Without this umbrella, with all these stakeholder groups, FinOps will not make sense. Yes, you can have, like to draw a line, you need 2 points, right? Otherwise, how would you draw a line and connect them? So these are like the points which you have. And then you need to connect the dots to have those lines and create a boundary inside which you can work. Well, the boundary is stretchable because all these people will have their own thoughts and processes, but then you define a framework and you work under that, then of course the finance will not only be accountable for the cloud cost because it's everybody's responsibility and accountability. I hope you guys could understand the FinOps persona, the stakeholder groups. So moving ahead, we have FinOps domains and capabilities. Well, okay, so this slide might look like a lot, but it really boils down to 4 domains here, or rather 4 categories. So domains are nothing but you can think of them as categories. And each domain has some kind of capabilities, right? Capabilities are like specific things an organization can do. Uh, I mean, should be able to do, not can do, but should be able to do to finally manage cloud costs well. So let's start with the first one, understand usage and cost. This is the foundation. It is about knowing what you are spending and where, right? Capabilities here include allocation, reporting, anomaly detection. In very short, if I have to say, visibility and accuracy. That's what you are doing here. Like if I would like to refer on technical terms, when you do tagging, when you do cost allocation, when you put anomaly alerts, you are doing what you are doing is basically understanding your usage and cost. For non-tech folks, I would like to say like you read the detailed phone bill before you can manage it, right? So you have probably your SMS quota, you have your, I don't know, you are using browsing mobile data and everything. So you need to understand your segments in your billing so that you can properly utilize that. You can properly know what you're spending your money on. That's the understanding usage and cost. Okay, next category is about quantify business value. So here, the focus is connecting the spends, which you have already understood, to a business impact or a business value. So basically, first you did is understood your billing costs, right? Now you need to put a direction towards those costs, like what these values are driving towards a goal, which business impact is being done. So the capabilities here are like forecasting, budgeting, unit economics. So you could ask a question here like, is this spend worth it for the value what we get back? That's what we are doing in the quantify business value. You understood your usage and cost, and now you put a quantification to it. You are benchmarking it. The third category or the domain is optimize usage and cost. So this is where actually the action is happening. Capabilities here include architecting for cloud, workload optimization, rate optimization, licensing, looking into sustainability. So the aim here is not just cut cost. No, 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 not just cut costs, but to use the cloud efficiently. That's what we are doing here. And here, if you can think of an example, I would say like workload optimization, what it could be like right sizing your cloud resources so that you are not overpaying. As simple as that, right? It might sound like too simple and silly, but believe me, people do forget doing that. And that's why your bills go so higher and randomly it's like a boom. Yeah, what happened? And the final domain and the category here is manage the FinOps practice. So finally, this is about as always, governance and enablement. So you need to have governance, right? Capabilities like education, invoicing, assessment, onboarding tools, uh, yeah, onboarding workloads, then also intersecting disciplines, tools, and services. It is about making FinOps stick together as an organizational habit, not as a one-off project. No, no. FinOps is not a one-off project, but rather a discipline we are talking about, right? Rather a habit we are forming it on a daily basis. So this entire thing which you see here on the slide, all those 4 domains and what all capabilities these domains or categories have under them. So you can think of it as like a cycle. First, you understand usage, then you link it to the business value. Next, you optimize what you can after understanding the business value and the usage and cost. And finally, manage it as an ongoing practice. FinOps is all about collaboration and managing and creating awareness. That's how the organizations mature in FinOps. It's not, as I am saying repeatedly, it's not a tool, It's not just a buzzword, it's an entire umbrella. So you need to understand it's all domains and how all these stakeholders, because for every domain, there could be a persona or a stakeholder group acting individually, but then you need to make them all connect together so that you can drive FinOps through your entire organization and don't again have the headache of your cloud cost climbing immensely high and striking up. So I think we are good with the FinOps domain and capabilities. So moving forward, what we have is FinOps phases. Yes. So, well, we will now talk about the FinOps journey. FinOps has got three phases of maturity: inform, optimize, operate. These three are the important steps which every FinOps team, or you can say like a FinOps practitioner, will tell you always about: inform, optimize, and operate. So organizations cycle through these as they get better at FinOps. So this is like a cycle which you keep on driving. Okay. You have to do these three steps again and again so that FinOps is driven as a culture in your team or an organization. Think of more it like driving a car. You move through stages before you are cruising comfortably on the highway, right? You need to learn driving cars step by step. So the first step is here, inform. So inform, this is like the very novice learner stage. You finally look at your dashboards or your Excel sheets and realize, oh, that's where all the money is going. Like that's where all the fuel of the car is going. Here, the focus is on visibility, reporting, allocation, and transparency. Everyone sees what's being spent. Everyone is getting informed. They know what is being spent, where, and by whom. So it's all about information. Information about the cost, information about the data. That's the inform stage. That's the learner stage. Then we move towards optimize. Now you start adjusting how you drive your car. You have your fuel, you have the knowledge. Now you need to adjust how you drive. So maybe you stop accelerating like crazy at every green light, or you learn not to keep the engine idling. So in FinOps terms, you know you have idle resources, but you won't like to keep them idling. You know you have the resources and how to right size them. Knowing is one thing, and then optimizing other. So you first, of course, you need to know, and then you need to tell your other stakeholders about it, inform them, and also optimize accordingly. So in FinOps terms, this means right sizing your resources, turning off idle ones, and improving the forecasting. The goal is about smarter driving. We are not just doing faster or cheaper driving, but a smarter driving. And finally, we have operate. So operate is like finally you have passed your driving test, and driving has become now your second nature, right? Driving the car. So this step, the final one, operate, you are not just watching the finally the dashboard. You are watching the dashboard, but also making good decisions in real time. In FinOps, this means the teams collaborate continuously. Nobody is working in a silo, everybody is working continuously, collaborating with each other. They make joint decisions. So it's everyone's effort to make a joint decision. And then cost accountability is also there. So you are cruising in the operate phase, or maybe in the finally you are in the optimized phase. You have learned how to cruise through the highways. The point is FinOps is a journey. All these three phases, they are the journey. It's And for this journey we will require a map which we will show on later, what is FinOps framework. But this journey repeats every time your cloud grows. And we all know cloud fluctuates, cloud grows and goes down. So this is a journey which is a repeatable journey, because every time your cloud goes, your cycle will back through these phases of inform, optimize, and operate. This is the mantra. You have to remember inform, optimize, and operate, and the cycle going through and through your cloud circle. So yeah, that's about the FinOps phases. Moving forward, well, I will hand over to Arindam for the FinOps maturity model. Arindam, over to you.
Okay, so you just have to populate the whole slide, yeah. and then I take it forward here. By the way, just to let you know, I didn't want to interrupt you. There was a slight latency while you were speaking, you know. Uh, yeah, so you froze a little bit.
Oh,
So
sorry, I didn't
yeah,
realize.
no, it's
Sorry
okay.
about that.
So,
Sorry to the
yes,
audience as well.
yeah,
No,
perfect.
no worries, all good.
Okay, so yes, uh, this is one of the most common thing, which you will see in a maturity model. FinOps also adapts the same thing. It's the CWR, crawl, walk, and run. So, well, when I talk to my clients and everything, I always say that, for every problem statement, for every issues, you just have to start. You just have to pick a point and start. There is there is nothing better than just to start or pick a point and start rather than sitting on the problem and then thinking over and over again, because it is not going to solve automatically. And the second thing is with CWR, it's you pick a point and you start. Of course, that's a point one. Point two is fail fast approach. You have something, a model which you want to implement in your organization. You want to uh, sort out some use cases, some problem statements. You have an idea, you want to implement it. Perfect. But if you act on it fast, then the success and the fail will tell you immediately whether that idea was right or wrong. And that is why the fail fast approach. The sooner you fail, the sooner you can move on the next approach or the next maturity model. And this is why this is how it comes down. It boils down to CWR: crawl, walk, and run. So crawl is something like, you start with a very, very small thing, whatever you know about FinOps, whatever you understand from FinOps, whatever, like, you understand, like me and Tanushri, we are giving you a, a brief about FinOps. This is not a technical deep dive, but this is more about foundation of FinOps. So when we are giving this, of course, not all these information will stuck in your head, but, the parts which you can grasp, the part which you can take away from this session, take those things, start small. Something like, very small, like tagging a resource or maybe creating a small budget alert, something like that. Then, of course, it's the next stage called walk, where you are trying to, when you're starting small, you might be focusing on maybe one service, one cloud service. Then when you are in the walk phase, then probably you take two or three services. And I always tell to my client that when you are doing experiments with Azure services in a lab environment, everything works because everything is public endpoint. When you are actually working in an enterprise network, everything is private endpoint, and then you are not working with one or two Azure services. You are working with maybe 10 or 12 services. And as more and more thing comes together, the complexity increases. This is exactly the walk phase. So the more and more you deep dive, the more and more the avenues will open, the complexity will start adding on. And then you will look into the perspective that, okay, now how do I solve this? That is walk. And during the run phase, that is like the lessons learned in the crawl and the walk phase, that becomes your run phase. And the run phase is basically nothing but business as usual. And you have to correlate this with a human. Like when a kid is born in a hospital, he's not coming out of the hospital sprinting marathons. He's not doing that, right? He's crawling, he's walking, and then he knows how to run. That's how it is. So it's a human acronym. This is nothing like, which you have never heard or you have not seen it. I'm pretty sure this maturity model is pretty common. But what we are trying to say is that, FinOps also adapts to this basic maturity model, saying that we don't want a big bang. We don't want that, everything which you are working, just leave everything, all project deliveries, all, AI initiatives, you leave and just start focusing on FinOps. I'm saying that with all the things going on, you can also put this maturity model into some kind of a pillar. You start with crawl, you start with walk, and then you mature the whole practice into a run phase. Okay. Can we have the next slide, please? So this is for you, Dhanushri.
Yep, thanks. So now that you have learned about the maturity model, right? Crawl, walk, and run. So after that, we have also learned about the FinOps phases, inform, optimize, and operate, and also learned about the domain's capabilities. So here we have put everything into a picture. If you see here, you have all those domains capabilities I talked about, all the personas I have talked about, leadership, engineering, practitioner, and everybody, and you have the principles. So if this maturity model, crawl, walk, and run, was the journey, FinOps framework is the map. For every journey, you need a map, right? Your source, destination, probably also checking kilometers, mileage in between, and how the weather. So this is the framework, this is the map. It organizes sorry, everything we have covered so far. Principles, personas, domains, and even the scopes into an operating model. Well, we can think of it like the principles are your values, the mindset you operate with. The personas here, right? The engineering, FinOps practitioner, finance, product, procurement, leadership, they are your players. You already have your principle as values. You know what are your values, business values, what you should target for. The mindset you already have framed there. Then you have these personas as your players. So they will work on those values, drive towards the business driven value, right? And then you have your domains, that is the categories which I talked about earlier, the four categories, and the capabilities inside those categories. These are nothing but these are your plays, your moves, your actual moves which you run on the field. So your principles are your values, personas are your players, and domains are your plays or actual moves in the field. And finally, you have the scope, right? If you see here, you have public cloud, SaaS, data center in the scope. So what are scopes? Scopes are nothing but your playing fields, like cloud, SaaS, licensing, and even data center. Sorry. So together, these framework shows how FinOps is applied in real life, no matter what stage you are at. As Arina was talking earlier, you might be crawling, your organization or project might be just looking at an Excel sheet for cost. That's okay. Everybody has to start from somewhere, right? Now that you have a bigger map, you have a bigger framework, you know what the principles are, you know what the people or the stakeholder groups are with whom you need to interact, what values you need to keep in your mindset to drive this as a collaborative way, right? For a shared vision. So important part is together, this framework shows how FinOps is applied in the real life, no matter which stage you are. But the important part is that the framework isn't about going fast, right? It is always about moving towards the right direction. It is one step at a time. You start from somewhere and then you take it as a collaborative way, right? Because in the cloud, if you think about it, if you're sprinting in the wrong way, you are just burning your money more faster. And that's what we don't want, right? We don't want any kind of headache with the cloud costs. We don't want them to overburn, or we don't want them to spike just because of resources are idle or the environment is idle, or we don't know how to operate in a matured way. So FinOps is all about maturity, all about creating awareness. So when you have this framework, and if you can put it in your mind, it's a very actual. It looks intense, but it is a very simple framework. It's just like four boxes. You have principles, the main values. Why I'm repeating again is because people look at this and they think that FinOps itself has to be a separate practice. Well, it's a practice, but it becomes a habit. Then it's not a separate practice. When you're doing it on a daily basis as a habit, right? You know what's to be collaborated with, I mean, whom to be collaborated with, and what business values are to be driven with. So that's what FinOps framework is about. So just to give you a thumbs up, I would say here, like, look at your current business, organization, or project and see in the FinOps framework where you are actually fitting into. Like you are there in the probably in the engineering team. I don't know. Probably you are in the leadership team, right? And then now that you have the domains and the categories, you can, as a persona, try to put yourself and fit into one of the categories. Like, okay, if I'm in the leadership, probably I would be looking into managing the FinOps practice as overhead. You don't have to be a practitioner in the beginning. You can also implement these in your own organization But of course, you need to create the awareness first and have a roadmap how to proceed forward, right? Because without a roadmap, this will be a challenging thing to implement. So you should be not, targeting towards a failure already. So to start with, again, you can have a FinOps practitioner in your team who will basically lay out all the guardrails for your project or for the organization, and then you start from there. If you are not getting help in the beginning, then you have the FinOps cloud practitioner, and then you have the collaboration with every team. And after a few months, or if you are taking time, after a few years, every team in your organization knows how they have to collaborate effectively. Then you don't need a FinOps practitioner anymore. You don't need it as a separate practice because every leadership or every engineering team then knows what FinOps is about and how they need to collaborate to have these cloud costs, in a green line, not spiking with those like a red line. Yeah, that's the basic thing which I can explain over here, right? So moving forward, now that we have gone through the FinOps framework, the journey, we have next, I guess, is yeah. Okay, so we are already over with the basic rules and thumbnails about FinOps. So we will have the demo. Yes, so I will give hand over to Arindam for the demo. Let's do a small demo and see if you are trying to able to correlate, right? Over to you, Arindam.
Thank you. So for the purpose of the demo, what I'll do is I'll switch off my camera because, if I'm doing a demo and then I'm switching on my camera, I become conscious. My faces move left and right. It's really ugly. So with your permission, I'll switch off my camera and I will quickly present my screen. Okay, just a moment. I am still audible, guys, right?
Yes, you are.
Perfect. Can you see my screen? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. So this is my subscription, my personal subscription, where I do my POCs and everything, all my automations and everything. So if you go to the resource groups and everything, you will see that I have a couple of AKS clusters running, some VMs running, some app services running. I have a lot of services like here. You see that I have some private endpoints, log analytics, application insight. Here, I have some Kubernetes cluster where I'm evaluating a cross-plane. Then I have another one which I'm testing for my current client. So this is all I have. Now, if I go to the subscription here and then I click on this, now this is my subscription view. If I go to the cost analysis, this is what you see as a first instance. You see actual cost, you see your forecasted. Now, why I'm starting with this, because when we talk about FinOps and everything, the first thing again in the open market is that everybody tries to build their own product. I mean, build a product and try to sell to the companies. What me and Tanushree we are trying to show is that with FinOps, you can do everything in-house. You just need um, you just need guidance, you just need the practice, and you just need the right person who is going to fine tune the whole process into your existing organizational setup, and you can do it. You don't need an extra set of tool. You doesn't need $1 billion. You just need a mindset, and it starts with what you have. So we cannot show you for multi-cloud. Since me and Tanushree, we specialize in Azure, we are showing on the Azure part. So this is what you see. Now, if you just toggle around and you just go for cost by resource instead of accumulated, you exactly see in a table structure. You see the table out here, you see in a table. And you can see exactly that which is costing you more. So you see that, I have my Kubernetes cluster, and everybody knows that. And under the Kubernetes cluster, we have the VM scale sets, right? So this is costing me more. So what is my family type? This is D4S V5. I have a virtual network associated. You see two virtual network. Why? Because one is ingress, another is egress. One is incoming, another is outgoing. Then we have the bandwidth, and then we have the bandwidth. The bandwidth is again standard out, and this is the intercontinental because I have two different regions. Now, this is the granularity which you see. And of course, this information is only with the technical people, but this is burning your money, which means that there has to be a medium that how do you translate this particular piece of information in a lucid way to the rest of the people which Tanushri was explaining, like the finance team. If I go to the finance team and say, no, what happened is that my egress is taking too much of cost, he will understand nothing. This is what Tanushri was trying to emphasize, that you need to have a common communication language. And if you put a FinOps practitioner in your organization, he doesn't have a magic wand. He will not say abracadabra and everything will be sorted out. It will not happen. So this is how you look into it. Now, if I go down here more, this is like, from the resource perspective, if I go down here much down and I go by resource group, then you can easily find out that, okay, this particular resource group has the resources, and that is costing me more money. You can also change here the billing cycles. The billing cycles are nothing, but for example, last month, last invoice. If I go to the last invoice, then you see the whole thing. And then again, you can just simply check it out. How do you want to do it? Resource and everything. This is just a sneak peek that within Azure cost analysis, a lot can be done. That's your starting point. And Azure cost analysis, cost management tool also provides you REST API, which means that you can use your get and the post functionality using an API tool called Postman. You write a get and a post code, and you can pull out all the cost details, put it in a fancy dashboard, and then we can talk. So this is the very first step, which I wanted to show you. Of course, a lot of people knows it, but everybody is more concentrated on going to a subscription, going to a resource group, create a resource group, deploy a resource. I don't even know that if somebody is actually, unless there is a FinOps practitioner or anybody there who is actually looking at the cost. So the project managers and everything, they look into the cost if something is being pushed, if somebody is questioning them that, okay, why it is costing you more. But when a FinOps practitioner is doing it, it is his bread and butter. Without that, he has nothing in the whole 9 hours to do. So his job is to make sure that when you are implementing something, whether it's a standard request, change request, anything, or incident happening, if the mitigation, what they are providing, involves refactoring a code which is doing a feature enhancement in any of the services, that has a cost. And if that has a cost, then you need an approval from the FinOps operation practitioner, or probably a governing body, which the FinOps practitioner is practicing for the organization, and that should be a part of the approval. So this is the first thing which I wanted to show you. Now moving to the next part is this. This is a small tool, which is an open source tool available. This is being made by one of the Microsoft MVPs. He lives in Netherlands, and he was given a task in his company to do the FinOps part and everything. And while he was doing it, he made a tool. And once he made the tool, he just automated the whole process. So here you see that, you have to have a certain prerequisites. So I had a .NET, library installed. Once I have the .NET library installed, I mapped it to the subscription. So I use the azcli command, az account set, and this has the my subscription ID. Once I ran that, now my terminal is connected to my subscription. When it is connected, then I run this accumulated cost, providing my subscription. Okay. And then it gives me all the details. What is the cost? So whatever you are seeing in the Azure portal, now I see it in the command line. And this is giving you everything from 1st of August to 31st of August. You see the whole structure with the color combinations and everything, so that you exactly look into the things which are required. It's a fantastic tool. I've been using it. I really like it. This tool you can easily integrate with GitHub Actions and Azure DevOps, populate it, throw it in a storage account, map it to any Power BI, and a powerful dashboard comes in. Now the next command which I'm going to run, if I can, I think I have not ran it. Okay, let me do that for you. The next one is, now what I have done is when I was evaluating, I evaluated in the month of May. So when I evaluated this, I had captured two instances of the cost, one for 18th of May, another for 19th of May. And I captured it as a JSON format. And then what I'm doing is I'm comparing the cost. You see the compared to, and this is like 19th, and then this is 18th, and these are JSON. If I run this, you see that in the table, the source and the target and the change. So between one day, what is the cost anomaly for the services which are running in your subscription it is giving you? This is the day-to-day job of a FinOps practitioner, to check the anomalies, where it is burning, why it is burning, what can we do to stop that, how can we effectively do that without affecting the business. So one, you can start with Azure Cost Management. Second, with this open source tool. Now, me and Tanushri, we did when we started to do this FinOps and FinOps analysis and deep dive and everything. And now we know a lot than we have started 6 months back and everything. What we have done today is that, we initially, when we thought that in Rauszeit, when we are going to present, me, Tanushri and Marcus, we were thinking of, okay, how to enable this, how to give the best of the knowledge and everything. And then we started to prepare a training course and everything regarding FinOps. This was me and Tanushri doing it. And then we thought that it would be too much of information, stacked into 1.5 hours of Rauszeit. It is not effective. So we came up with that, okay, we gave a foundation. We tried to explain with a small demo with one of the open source tool and one with cost management, which we did a few moments back. And now what I'm trying to show is that, we are almost we are 75% completed with the training part. There's a lot. Like one example, I will show you that how deeply we are thinking about this is just one thing, that how FinOps fits into change management. Just one thing I wanted to show you. This is how it fits into the change management. I'm not going to explain you why, because this is a part of our training course, followed by if you need a FinOps practice, then we are happy to do it. And when we say that we can do it, it is not that we are doing things at the cost of your company. We are doing things because we know it how to do it, and we have a complete documentation followed by automation available with us. So this is just a sneak peek. If anybody of you wants to have FinOps practice, you want to set up that practice, that culture, you want to have those automations and everything, I would strongly request you guys that feel free to reach out to Marcus or to Tanushri, and we are more than happy to help you out in your organization, in your journey. And you can be rest assured that it would be a very, very fruitful journey. So this is all I wanted to show about FinOps, a little bit about demo and our training materials and everything, what we have prepared, but we have it. It is 75% ready. I'm not saying I won't be dishonest. We still need some of time. But we are also working in the background regarding all the automations. For example, like this is the FinOps toolkit, which we have. And what we have always believed, and we say that we will never encourage any of the organization that, okay, you want to practice FinOps, so you should go and buy a tool, for example, from IBM or maybe from anybody else, maybe from AWS, Alibaba. We would never recommend, because those things you can build it. And these are the things which me and Tanushree, we are building. We are building all those automation prototype. Of course, those prototypes will not work like to like in an organization, but it is a starting point where I can show you that how it works. And then, of course, the refactor can be done in an organization. That is a different story. But this is something. So we will provide a 2-day training, followed by how to set it up, how to automate, and followed by how the whole thing goes. So again, guys, if you are interested, if you want to have the service and everything, feel free to reach out to Marcus and Sri. So that is all I wanted to show. I will stop sharing. And
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. Okay, you stop sharing. I just wanted to also have them a sneak peek about how their organization if their organizations are FinOps ready, the chapter which we have, because
sure,
you showed them the
sure.
demo about CLI and also Azure cost analysis, which Azure itself has built. But you shouldn't always, I mean, to you guys, I don't know how you're doing cost management in your companies or projects right now, but you can start as small as an Excel sheet. That's what this chapter was about. So maybe Arindam can just give you a quick sneak peek about it, that you do not have to go a big bang with Power BI just right now, or
Yes,
buy any kind of tool, right? So Arindam, if you can
yes.
proceed. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is something, I didn't want it to go in depth because, I thought that, we can talk later, but yes. So this is something like, we have different use cases. And the most basic one is this one, because this is one thing which every company is using, Excel. And I don't want that, people to that, okay, if they are not comfortable with Power BI or they are not comfortable with Power Apps and DevOps and those kind of things, I don't want to push people. I just want to work with people who are comfortable with their own set of toolings. And all the automations which me and Tanushree we are building, we could have stopped into one or two automations. Okay, we are ready. But it is not the thing. When you are offering something, it means that here somebody is maybe very skilled in Power BI. So if I go and I tell that, okay, I have a solution, Power Automate, it's again speaking French and Latin. So he's speaking French, I'm speaking Latin. So I just want to have a solution which is effectively like, practiced everywhere. That is why, we are working. And we saw that, me and Tanushree, after talking to a few people more, and of course, taking the expertise from Marcus, we thought that, this is one of the most common use cases which you will find. But of course, there are others as well. I see a hand raised, and Marcus, go for it, please.
Hey, thank you. I just wanted to ask if there's questions in our audience. I think it would be the right moment. We've heard a lot of information already to digest a few things. Is questions on your mind so far? So maybe one question from my side, Tanushi or Arindam. So, so far, I recognize the situation in many companies, that infrastructure happens somewhere behind the scenes, right? So down in the cellar, right? So normally the data centers are somewhere, it's a 6th floor under the ground, basically. So now you're saying, right, we have to bring it up to the surface, right, and start discussing and understanding. And as you said, I had to smile, about ingress and egress gateways, etc. Right, so those technical terms that arise right around those cloud infrastructures, etc. So I see this as quite a change to the existing infrastructure teams, right, which are used to work in the cellar, kind of, right, not in an irrespective manner, but that's the way it is, right? So they are engineering guys sitting and maintaining that stuff on their own. And now we are asking, hey, you need to talk about that stuff, make it transparent, right? Explain about, I don't know, OpenShift resources, VMs, whatever technology is running behind the scenes. So I see this as quite a change, isn't it? So how would you kind of, you said, right, it's about crawling, walking before you can run, etc. But how would you see that in reality? I mean, is it a set of trainings? How would you initiate that kind of change?
So, me and Tanushree, we've been discussing this, okay, that if somebody is asking this, that, how we do it. So the training part is only like to create more and more awareness. It's just like, 10 years back or maybe 7 or 8 years back when Azure and DevOps came in. At that time also, DevOps was always there. But instead of using Azure DevOps, Git or GitHub Actions or anything, these fancy names or Octopus or Bitbucket, they were using Subversions. They were using Subversion. The client was Tortoise Subversion, and that is how they were doing the version control. The Subversion was sitting in something called a physical server, right? But then everything moved into software as a service, a SaaS model. And then automatically the DevOps came into boom. So when I'm talking about the FinOps and everything, this training and everything is going to help you to understand every aspect. So when you are coming across a term, any term, technical, non-technical, functional, doesn't matter. When you come into a term, the first thing which hits into your head is what is the use case? How I'm going to put it into my organization or to my client? How do I do that? So this training is something like creating awareness. Few things you know, few things you don't know, or maybe you don't know anything about it. So this is first the awareness. The second thing is, of course, in assessing and discovery. Like, if for example, me and Tanushree, we are given this opportunity for any organization to start with FinOps. All we will ask is, okay, give us just a cost management reader or maybe a reader, RBAC, to all your project subscription. Mm-hmm. Because initially, it's the analysis which we have to do before even to start talking. So training followed by the discovery and analysis is the two key point where we are going to start. And then the discussion is going to start bringing people together. Because when you're talking about cost, then for a project, which team members are involved? Of course, the infrastructure team, the application team, and the database team. So over the years, whether you are in an AI phase or whether you are in a cloud phase and everything, this paradigm has not changed, Marcus. Mm-hmm. There's always these three tiers: application, infrastructure, and database. They're always there, right? Similarly, when these three people are there, which means that if there is any change, they are part of this change advisory board, which is the CAB, right? All I'm asking is, with these three people, you are adding the FinOps practitioner as well. So when the database is making change, of course, he knows that why this change is required. But then he is also giving a nod, not only from infrastructure and the application guys that, okay, we accept the change, but he is also getting a financial acceptance from the FinOps practitioner. So if you see that these pillars are microservices, I'm just adding another microservices to the ecosystem. That's all. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks. Can I ask one more question?
Go for it. As many as possible.
So you were talking about personas earlier, right? And one persona was the leadership, right? As the kind of owner of this practice, let's say, right? Of the FinOps practice. Where is this leader typically coming from? Is this IT? Is this business, finance? Who is kind of saying, hey, we need FinOps, and I'm pushing it?
So this always has to be a top-down approach. It cannot be a bottom-up approach that an engineer or a database something is saying that, okay, we need a FinOps. Because for them, how fast, we can deploy and close the ticket. That is their objective. Because otherwise somebody is chasing them over the ticket, over the email, over Teams. So they are very fast in this. But at the end, it's the business owner, or nowadays there's a special term called product owner. He is responsible for the overall cost. He is responsible for the budgeting and everything. But think it like in Azure. And if anybody who has worked in Azure, they know that the typical thing is hub and spoke model. So there are a set of common Azure services which sits in a hub, and all the spokes are consuming it, right? So FinOps cannot be like a project to project basis. The practice and the culture, it has to be coming from centrally. So you cannot say that, okay, in one project you will be very strict with FinOps, and in the other project, you will be very lenient because he's a drinking buddy. He's going out every Friday with you over a beer. So I'll be very lenient about him. I'll not practice FinOps. It doesn't work like that. It has to be a central body, just like a hub and spoke model of Azure. And whatever you're propagating for one spoke, the same principle applies for the next spoke.
Just to add over here, since Marcos, you were asking specifically about leadership, I would say, as per the FinOps Foundation, leadership generally belongs to those who are aware and have created the business values, right? They have created the business value for the projects, so they are driving it knowing their business targets. So leadership generally curtails to those placeholder group. But as I mentioned, like a hub and spoke model, so leadership is obviously those who are driving the business values, but you have to have a collaboration with the FinOps practitioner and all the teams to understand that exactly clouds, how they are, defining your business values and enabling you to meet them or not. Yeah, just to add that. Thank you.
Sure. Good. Thanks. So we have 10 more minutes.
Well, if anybody else have any kind of questions, otherwise we can go to Mentimeter to have some polls and quiz to see if you guys actually listen to what we are speaking, or you're like totally bored out with what we said. But it's all good. We can have some fun.
Go ahead.
Okay, so do you guys have any questions, or shall we? I don't see any hands raising or any questions in the chat. So maybe I will quickly share and we can have a little bit of fun. Oops, sorry. I don't know. Do you guys see this? So if you can probably scan this QR code, and then we can move into the questions.
We are experienced Mentimeter users.
Oh, good. Perfect. Well, me and Arindam were already so excited that we already put some of our own inputs to the questions earlier. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, we were testing extensively. It was really fun.
Well, I like the answers coming up. Complex, hidden. Yeah, the costs are actually always hidden. It's like a surprise, right? And big. It's always big boom. Okay. Yes, they are hidden. They are mystery.
Surprise.
Cloud costs are like actually cost in the cloud, not visible to anyone. Yeah, Arindam, you were saying something?
I like the big word surprise. That's a very accurate term.
Yeah, it's always a surpriseful headache, I would say. Yeah, so I think we all can relate to it. We all have had the same kind of problem when it comes down to cloud costs, right? Surprise, big, out of control, general cost, hidden. Yeah. Mystery, dispersed. I was actually going to read it as depressed, but cloud cost can make you depressed as well. So yeah. And of course, we need awareness about what the cloud costs curtail to. Good,
I
good.
like, I personally like the answer, not my cost.
Oh yeah, now I see that. Yeah, not my cost, right? Okay, so let's move on to the next one. I mean, we all could relate to cloud costs. Yeah, these are all the problems which actually we face with cloud costs. I don't see a positive sentiment actually towards the cloud cost. You will see all are negative over here. So yeah, that's the same sentiment we all have towards cloud costs. Okay, let's move to the next one. Let's see what we have in the bag. So, how do you usually track or explain your cloud spend? You have four options over here. So let's see how your current organization or how your current project deals with it. Okay, good. Yeah, yeah. That's why FinOps, that's why we are here, FinOps practitioner, right? To help you to track it properly. Good. Excel sheets. Yeah, most of the companies, I would say, they start with Excel sheets and then, of course, see, Excel sheet growing up. Perfect. Yeah, because that's the basic thing, the spreadsheet, I would say, and then we can have some dashboard or tools to show it in a big way and let the business and other teams be able to correlate with. Yeah, good. But I'm also happy, actually glad to look at that we don't really track it properly and it's all there, hidden somewhere. Yeah, good. Oh, okay. It's increasing. You guys don't really track it properly. So that's what we have been saying, right? So FinOps is the platform which will make you aware how to track it and then keep it in check like an agile way in a daily basis so that you don't have a monthly headache at the end of the month. Yeah. We don't like to, we won't like to die at the end of the month. We would like to have it on a daily basis. Good. So I would say that then our FinOps presentation has been successful in a way that now you guys know that you would need a FinOps practitioner somewhere down in the future to help you guys ahead with this. So let's move on to the next question. Great. So rank your biggest challenges in the cloud cost management. You have four over here. You can rank it from first, which is your really big headache, to the least nominal. That's the fourth one. So idle resources, over provisioning, lack of accountability, and forecasting. Which do you think in your current project or organization is having the most difficulty to deal with? And then you go second, third, and the least one. Okay. Arindam, what do you think? Does it relate to your Azure projects? These all challenges?
Yes, I was actually looking idle resources to be the first one, but lack of accountability, yes, correlates. Forecasting is a surprise to me because I hardly know anybody doing forecasting. At least I have never done it in my 8 years in cloud.
Okay,
So
so it seems like we have projects, we have people over here who consider
yes, yeah,
doing forecasting.
it's good
Probably,
to know. Yeah, it's
yeah,
a very, very
probably
good to know.
because AI is right now in picture and people are, more energized to do forecasting and be able to know how they can control their costs in the future. But yeah, I think lack of accountability comes down to human nature. Well, how we interact and collaborate with each other, right? Definitely, there is a lack of accountability because we, as human, try to put it when it comes to cost towards the finance team. Yeah, yeah, it's the finance
So,
probably or the IT
mm,
infrastructure. But yeah,
yeah,
so
the lack of accountability is directly going hand to hand with idle resources, also in a way. So you are setting up some resources and everything, and then somehow the whole application stack is working, but somebody is pointing out that okay, this is not being used, but you say, okay, this is not my responsibility, and
Yeah.
it is still staying like there. So it's just going hand in hand a little bit. And over provisioning, this is all started with the containers. So with over provisioning, it's all with the containers. Yeah. But this is very, for me, it was
Insightful,
very, very
right?
nice. Yeah. Yeah. It was very nice that forecasting. I'm really very
Yeah,
happy that.
we need to look into that. Thank you,
Yeah.
guys. We also learned something new. Okay, we have few minutes left so we have a quick quiz for you guys. If you guys listen to what we said. So I see 7 players are ready, so we will start the quiz. There are 15 seconds for you guys to give the correct answer. Okay, let's start. Who is responsible for cloud costs in a FinOps practice? Finance team, engineering team, business team, or everyone? Probably no one. I should have added the option no one. 6 seconds, guys, you can do it. Okay, so everyone has voted. Somebody did a mistake to finance team. Oh, that's hurtful. I thought you guys all listened to our FinOps presentation.
No, it can also be that the person who marked as finance team, it was a joke.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was a joke.
I would like to believe that. Do you guys have any comment on that?
No, I think we agree.
Yeah, we are all on the agreement here.
Yeah.
Okay, now that I guess there is one more. Okay, yeah. If you had one FinOps superpower, what would it be? So now that you have gone through the FinOps presentation, this is our question to you. What FinOps superpower would you want to have or probably want to implement in your organization? So that we can also know, as a FinOps practitioner, what to expect. Good. I'm liking the answers. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So since we are also running out of time and we are there, and it's the last question. So it seems you guys also understood FinOps perfectly because it's all about making accountable, transparency, help to drive down the cost, of course, granular level, and understand what you are seeing. Yep. And communication,
Cool.
communication, yes. That's the main thing. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for entertaining me and Arindam also with this Mentimeter. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to come back to Marcus or to us. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tanushi and Arindam, for this interesting and funny presentation in the end. Thanks a lot. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And I'm looking forward for the next Rauszeit rather sooner than later, hopefully. So have a great weekend and talk to you soon. See you.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.